Good morning, guys. Today we are going to be looking at what is a counterargument and what is refutation, but more importantly, why they're important in your writing, especially when you are writing an argumentative research paper, as we are doing. So, just to start, when you write an argumentative or opinion paper, you're really trying to convince the reader that what you believe is what they should believe based on the facts that you provide. So thinking about it as a persuasive paper, right, is really the way to do this. You are trying to convince your reader that your argument is the strongest argument, even though you're acknowledging that other arguments are out there. So a really smart way to do that is to include the counter arguments in your writing. So a counter argument is a point that opposes your point that you're making. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that that point is wrong and you are correct. But if I'm arguing that something is the most effective way to do something and someone else is arguing that their way is the most effective way to do something, I'm just showing that I am more correct than they are, right? So my argument is stronger than their argument. Their argument in turn is weaker than mine. So to counter means to speak up in opposition. So if you think about that, the counter argument is an argument that is in opposition to what you are claiming. And we use counter arguments in our writing because it shows that you're informed about other positions. So you're not just making these wild claims, you've actually done research. And also, if you're trying to convince someone of something and they're creating counter arguments in their head, if you address those before, if you acknowledge and address those, then those counter arguments, then you are making your argument stronger to them. It's more likely that you will convince them of your argument. So if we think about this claim that I've been toying around with in my research, it's that changing consumers' attitudes and behavior in regards to meat consumption is the most effective way to combat agricultural runoff that causes dead zones in oceans. A counter argument to that, the Gulf Preservation Society in the Gulf of Mexico argues that getting companies to voluntarily stop fertilizer and waste runoff into lakes, rivers, and streams is the best way to stop agricultural runoff. That is in opposition to what I'm saying. I'm saying no, the best way is to change consumers' attitudes and behavior. So as I move into responding to them, now I'm at the refutation point. So I have my claim, I have a counter argument to my claim, and now I need to respond to the counter argument. So when we're using that word refutation, what we mean is the response to the counter argument, showing the reader that my argument is stronger than that counter argument. So therefore, I'm the one that they should believe. I'm trying to convince them of that. So to help you remember this, the word refute means to reject. So I'm rejecting their counter argument and I'm arguing against it. The refutation is there to remind readers again why my argument is what they should be believing, even after hearing that counter argument. So if we go back to this counter argument, that the Gulf Preservation Society is saying getting companies to voluntarily stop fertilizer and waste runoff is the most effective way, I need to refute that. So I'm going to use sources to refute that. In your refutation paragraph, you're going to need two sources. Here's an example of what refuting that looks like using one source. I wrote, when discussing how difficult it is to get large companies like Tyson to change their sustainability practices, Lucia von Rusner, campaign director for the watchdog group Mighty Earth, argues that these companies' practices need to be far more sustainable, and a reduction in meat consumption is absolutely necessary to reduce the environmental burden. Given that it will be so difficult to get companies to change, especially voluntarily, the Gulf Preservation Society's recommendation falls short of what needs to be done. So you'll notice that I'm directly addressing what they said. They're saying getting companies to voluntarily stop is the best way, and I'm saying that it will be so difficult to do that based on what they're saying at Mighty Earth in that article that I linked. So therefore, my argument is stronger. Okay? So in Google Classroom is that model. I would suggest you go in there and take a look at it. It's an excellent example of how a writer can introduce that there is debate going on about a topic, give that counter argument, and then use two sources to refute that counter argument. So good luck with that, guys, and have a great weekend.